How can I have a growth mindset and avoid negative thinking traps? Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I have been doing this professionally now as a psychologist for almost 3 decades, and I've got some ideas that are going to make an immediate difference for you as I share 5 of the most common negative thinking traps and specifically what you can do about each one. Thinking trap number 1, believing what we think. Wait, how's this a trap? Notice this for just a minute. We know that we're right. Oh, it's not that we think that we're right. We know we're right, and it has us showing up in some pretty terrible ways and also creates a trap for us when it comes to negative thinking. I was interviewing Dr. Richard Nisbett on my podcast, Live on Purpose Radio. He's the author of a book called Thinking, which was endorsed by Malcolm Gladwell. This guy knows his material. He has studied thinking and reasoning for his entire career. And as I'm interviewing Dr. Nisbett, he said this. He said the number 1 error that we make as human beings is that we believe what we think. Just because you think it does not make it true. It just means that that's what you're used to thinking for whatever reasons. So what can we do about this particular thinking trap? Humility. Now, I'm defining humility as giving up our need to be right in exchange for being open. One of my other podcast guests, Brett Williams, wrote a book called You Can Be Right or You Can Be Married. And I always chuckle a little bit at that title because it speaks to this very issue. Once we settle in on knowing that we're right, everybody else is by definition wrong. So as we give up that need to be right in exchange for being open, it creates a much more conducive mindset for growth and development. It's an amazing process. Humility. Trap number 2, thinking I can't. Now, there's a couple of problems with this particular trap. First of all, you don't know. Usually when we say I can't, we're revealing that we haven't yet, or that we don't know how. But we don't know if we can or if we can't, typically. The other problem with this is it's kind of like a power switch on the brain. If you can picture just, like a light switch, a power switch on your brain itself, and it's got an on position and an off position. When we think, I can't, what position is the switch in? Yeah, off, shut her down. What's the next step after I can't? There's not one. I think we just curl up in a corner somewhere. So there's some inherent problems and traps with thinking I can't. All right, so what's the antidote? How about we switch out I can't for how can I? How can I? Let's use a couple of examples here so that you can see it. I can't afford it. Okay, well, that means you're probably not going to take it any steps farther than that, right? Switch that out. How can I afford it? Ooh, did you see what just shifted in your mind and the energy with which you come toward that? Now we've got the power switch turned on. Now our brain, our loyal brain, is looking for ways that it can go out there and figure out how to afford it. I can't do this thing. How can I do this thing? Do you see? Same results. Switch out I can't for how can I. Trap number 3 is thinking that our circumstances are extraordinary. Are you guilty of this one too? I am all the time. In fact, this is one of the common thinking errors or traps that gets people stuck in negativity. Extreme does not equal extraordinary. In fact, that's the remedy for this particular thinking trap. extreme does not equal extraordinary. Think about it. What that means is even though your circumstances may be extreme. I remember when I was going through my bankruptcy, that's a pretty extreme circumstance, but it's not extraordinary. Meaning a lot of people go through a bankruptcy. I am not the first, I will not be the last. And it's the same with yours. Now, you might look around your immediate environment and not see anyone who's going through the same thing that you are. But I guarantee that it's not new to the species. Whatever it is you're going through is not about you. It's a common experience to humankind. And you can always find someone else who has it a little better or a little worse than you do. So when we find ourselves thinking that our circumstances are extraordinary, remember extreme does not equal extraordinary. And it'll help you to avoid that particular thinking trap. I got 2 more of these thinking traps to share with you, but before we do that, I want you to think about that person that came to your mind as you were watching this video that you think could benefit from hearing this. Will you take a moment to click the share button down below and find a way to get it into their hands? Now let's look at that 4th thinking trap. Negative predictions. Just notice this, you are constantly predicting. What's going to happen? What's coming next? What will be the outcome? And notice this. You don't know. You don't know what's coming. How are you doing next week? You don't know, but you've got something to do with it. And please don't forget that part. You don't know. So whatever you're predicting is simply an imagination. You're coming up with a guess based on whatever information you have or don't have. This is what the human brain does. And I have to acknowledge here, why do we often predict negative things to come instead of positive things to come? Well, that one's easy. It's because of gravity. Have you ever parked your car on a hill and left the brake off? Which direction does it roll? You never hear of someone falling up. Default is down. That's true in our psychology too. And if we don't steer it on purpose in a positive direction, it's going to roll downhill. So the thinking trap is negative prediction. As you realize that you don't know, realize next that you are choosing a position. What if you chose a position that serves you well? That's the solution to this particular trap that causes our negative thinking. Realize that you have some choice and then choose a position that serves you best. The final trap that I wanted to share with you today is thinking that pain, discomfort, discontent is bad. It's not. When you understand where discontent fits in a creation process, it makes a whole lot more sense. Discontent is the starting point for all creation. I was having a conversation with Mr. Ernie Harker, who is an amazing public speaker and trainer. He's a branding expert, and we were at the airport in Nashville after a conference we had both attended. And he said, Dr. Paul, why am I always so unhappy? As I got to talking with him, I realized he wasn't describing unhappiness, he was describing discontent. And I helped Ernie to see at that point that his discontent is simply there because he's a powerful creator. Creators can always see something that needs a little work or that could use a little upgrade because that tells us what to go create. It was so fun to see the lights go on for Ernburn as he realized, I'm not unhappy. I'm a creator. And creators have to experience discontent. Just putting that little spin on it helped him to experience more peace and joy in his life while still experiencing discontent. Look, you are a creator. Your very divine nature means that you are a creator. It's what we humans do. And to know what to create, you have to experience pain, discomfort, discontent. It's part of the deal. I hope you found this video helpful to get to the root of some of the traps of thinking that can get us stuck. I go into more detail in all of these in my book, Pathological Positivity. I'm going to give you a free copy of this book. Does that sound good to you? I'll pay for the book. You pay for the shipping. I'll put it right in your inbox. Go to drpauljenkins.com/free book, and this is on its way.